Welcome to the UpNext AI podcast. It's Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, and here's what matters in AI today. First up, image models are now driving app growth harder than chatbot upgrades. TechCrunch, citing app intelligence firm AppFigures, reports that visual model launches are generating 6.5 times more downloads than traditional model updates. The clearest examples are ChatGPT and Gemini, where image features appear to give users a much more immediate reason to install an app than another text model upgrade. TechCrunch reports that Gemini's Nano Banana image release added more than 22 million downloads over 28 days, lifting downloads by more than 4 times over that stretch. It also reports that ChatGPT's GPT-4o image launch added more than 12 million incremental installs in the 28 days after release. The bigger takeaway, though, is that consumer interest is shifting toward AI features people can see and play with instantly. But the second half of the story matters just as much. Downloads are not the same thing as a business. According to the same AppFigures data, most of those spikes do not convert cleanly into revenue. TechCrunch says Google's image push drove only about $181,000 in estimated gross consumer spending in that 28-day window, while Meta AI's Vibes added downloads without meaningful revenue. Among the examples in the report, ChatGPT was the standout on monetization, with an estimated $70 million in gross consumer spending after its image model launch. So the practical read here is pretty simple. Visual AI is becoming the strongest acquisition hook in consumer apps, but monetization still depends on much more than novelty. If you build AI products, the lesson is that image features can pull users in fast, but they do not automatically create durable subscription revenue. Next, to Washington. Bloomberg reports, citing the New York Times, that the Trump administration is considering an executive order that would create an artificial intelligence working group and include model testing before release. At this stage, this is still a reported proposal, not a finalized policy, but even at that early stage, it matters. A White House-led working group would signal a more direct federal role in shaping how advanced models are evaluated. And the model testing piece is the most important detail here, because that points away from broad rhetoric and toward actual governance mechanisms. If this moves forward, the real questions will be who sets the standards, which models are covered, and whether the testing is advisory, mandatory, or tied to procurement or other federal leverage. For companies building frontier systems, that could mean a more formal pre-release review environment. For everyone else, it's another sign that AI oversight in the US may be moving from general concern toward more operational rules. Now to the research pick. This paper is called Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, and it looks at cross-language code clone detection. In plain English, that means trying to spot when two code snippets do the same thing, even if they're written in different programming languages. That's harder than it sounds. Python and Java versions of the same program can look very different on the surface, so simple pattern matching breaks down fast. The researchers argue that large language models can help with this, but relying on giant black box systems is expensive, harder to reproduce, and not always reliable in how they format answers. Their solution is to distill reasoning ability from a stronger model, specifically DeepSeek R1, into smaller open models, including Phi-3 and Qwen Coder. They trained those smaller models on synthetic reasoning data built from cross-language code pairs from Project CodeNet. Then they added what they call response stabilization methods, including forced conclusion prompting and classification heads, to make the outputs more consistent and easier to turn into yes or no judgments. The result, according to the paper, is that Distillation improved the reliability of these compact models and often improved predictive performance too, especially when the models were tested under distribution shift. The classification head versions also reduced inference time compared with generation-based approaches. Bottom line, this is a good example of a broader trend in AI research. Using frontier model reasoning to make smaller open models more practical, cheaper, and more dependable for specific real-world tasks. Are you building apps with voice? Elevate your app's voice capabilities with 11 Labs. Their API is a game changer for embedding dynamic, responsive voice interactions in your applications, providing unprecedented realism, flexibility, and latency. In fact, you're listening to one of their voices right now. If you are a developer looking to elevate user experience with natural voice interfaces, this is your solution. Visit upnext.fm/11 to check out their latest offerings. First, a terminology fight with real policy implications. In Interconnects, Nathan Lambert argues that calling current API abuse and model extraction behavior distillation attacks is a mistake. His point is that distillation is already a standard, legitimate technique across the industry, and folding jailbreaks, spoofing, or misuse into that label risks turning a normal research and product method into a policy target. Next, from the Associated Press via U.S. News. Greg Brockman disclosed in court that his OpenAI stake is worth nearly $30 billion. The same report says that would imply an OpenAI valuation around $852 billion. The disclosure came during the trial over OpenAI's evolution from its nonprofit origins into a much more commercial company. OpenAI also announced a partnership with PwC aimed at the Office of the CFO. According to OpenAI, the collaboration is about using AI agents to automate finance workflows, improve forecasting, strengthen controls, and modernize enterprise finance operations. And a lighter one from Simon Willison. IBM's Granite 4.1 family is now out in 3 billion, 8 billion, and 30 billion parameter sizes under Apache 2.0 licensing. Willison used quantized versions of the 3 billion model to run a very specific test, generating SVG pelicans riding bicycles. His verdict? Interesting experiment, but no clear quality pattern across sizes, and most of the pelicans were still pretty terrible. Finally, one more Simon Willison item that's less a discrete news event than a snapshot of the conversation around models right now. He published his April sponsors-only newsletter, which includes notes on Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5 with price increases, Claude Mythos, and security research, ChatGPT images 2.0, and other model releases. We're treating that as a useful industry pulse, not a standalone announcement. Before we wrap up, a quick note. This podcast is generated with the assistance of AI and is intended for informational purposes only. All referenced articles, research, and commentary remain the property of their original authors and publishers. And that's your briefing for today. Full source links are in the episode notes, and we'll be back tomorrow with What's Up Next.